Okay, just to close out here, I ended up finishing out that league, and I went 0-2 after the matches you saw. I lost one to a uh, Thalia's Lancers bigger blue-white deck, which was close, and I don't. It was one of those matches where I feel like I messed up. I'm not sure where. And then I lost one to a blue-red control deck where I legitimately just felt outclassed at a lot of points because they were able to be more proactive with their threats. I learned that Spell Shrivel is not quite Void Shatter, and I think it's a significant downgrade in the long run. I learned that these threats, I wasn't a huge fan of this threat base. I think Torrential Gearhulk is just like the nuts, and I think that's just the best thing you could be doing, and only two is crazy. And Summonings was a little clunky to get going, though it does overpower certain things, like we saw against the Zombies deck. Um, Scholar of the Laboratory is just not a magic card and should not be in the deck. A bunch of Anticipates is clunky, like I kind of derived from the successful Jeskai deck. The double black on the removal spells is taxing, and all the 3-drop removal spells is like a real big issue compared to Jeskai, because you just get the Jeskai deck has a lot of ways to tempo itself back into the game in the mid game. This deck doesn't. This deck, the mana's a little worse than Jeskai. But the other thing I think I learned is that Dynavolt Tower is just a horrendous magic card. Um, so, Matt, think about how much work you have to put into a Dynavolt Tower to get back more than a Lightning Bolt of Equity from it, which if you spend 3 mana on a Lightning Bolt, you're not getting good value. So you have to cast like 5 instances of sorceries, which involves like a ton of card draw chaining, which is putting you... It's just... Ugh. You're like going down on time and then like trying to like cast more, like you have to cast card draw spells to generate enough instant sorceries to keep it going. Then you're going further down on tempo to cast those, and it's just so hard to use this spell to get back in the game. The other thing was that Transgress the Mind versus Negate's a big deal because the threats hit so hard and they're so hard to answer that if you Transgress the Mind and find yourself exposed to a threat, it's just a game breaker. Being able to force them to spend mana to cast their threats so you can line up your answers is really important in this format. So I was not impressed with Transgress the Mind. So I don't think I would advise playing blue-black summonings moving forward, but I think it's possible that Metallurgic Summonings is a card that you want access to or sideboard ability for in a different control shell, like a blue-red base control shell. I think that blue-red is definitely better than blue-black, and the primary reason is the mana, and the secondary reason is that I think that the secondary reason is that this specific blue-black list is not built threat dense enough, and it doesn't have a card like Nahiri the Harbinger that's a interactive spell and a threat that it can really move towards. Liliana isn't good enough, especially because Liliana's kind of hated out a lot of the cards that Liliana's an interactive spell against. It's possible Obnixilis is the card that I'm looking for. Also, just play a million Torrential Gearhulks whenever you can. So, like, maybe like these are Gearhulks. This is like an Obnix. It's hard to configure it because I don't know if the mana works, and also it's hard to make the removal spells cost less. That's the other reason, is that 2 mana removal is so much better than 3 mana removal. So yeah, I think there's room to work with blue-black, especially after Aether Revolt comes out and a whole nother set of cards is revealed. Be on the lookout for any cards that let you regain the tempo from that results from you have, or the tempo loss that results from you having to cast 3-cost removal spells or any 2 mana removal spells, and those are the things you should be looking out for to improve blue black. But I don't think it's quite there just yet.